time for a new project. Really want to put the kingdom in Kingdom Carvers. So today we're going to look at some Mickey Mouse wall art. I'm starting by tracing an example of a Mickey Mouse head from the internet so I get the shape just right. Then we're going to carbon copy that onto a template piece of wood, and then we're going to cut it at the scroll saw. So I've got my template cut for this Mickey Mouse. There are some imperfections, so I'm going to take some time to work them out. Just a few parts are a little bit proud of the outline I made. One spot cut a little bit inward. I'm hoping it's not actually a problem. I'm thinking about what exactly I want to do with this template. Obviously I can make some wall cutouts. They'll just be pretty and they'll go on the wall. But there are a few other options of things that I can do. I can make little charcuterie boards, I can make trivets, I can make coasters. It's a little big for a coaster, more like a trivet, but honestly, the center of it is just, you know, it's about the size of a large coaster, maybe just a teeny bit larger. You could fit 2 mugs on this thing. I've been thinking about then what kind of woods I would want to put this on. Obviously, if it's a trivet, if it's a coaster, I think pine is going to be fine. If it's a wall hanging piece, obviously pine is going to be fine. Also, plywood would be fine, I think, as well, especially if it's got couple coats of paint on it. If we're gonna do a little charcuterie board, I think I'm gonna glue up some hardwood and really make it more like a cutting board. We're gonna see how it goes and see what my mood is. It's a little, I mean, I think from there it looks okay, but when you look at it more closely, it's a little off. It's not consistent from one side to the other. I'm unsure of how, because it's less consistent than the template. And I don't like the proportions of it. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, so there are a couple things I learned in this process. One was an affirmation, really, that it's super critical with Mickey Mouse, particularly this sort of Mickey Mouse, to get your proportions as accurate as possible to start. Because when they get off, they just don't look right. The second thing is, you really need the definition of a smaller router bit than I have at the moment. I think a 1/4 inch, I don't even know if they make 1/8 inch. Get these clean corners. They're really important to the image of Mickey Mouse. What I ended up doing to make this look a little bit better, firstly, I did some adjustment of the original shape in the center here that was just a little bit off that I think was becoming more obvious. Second is, I've got the corners more defined on the scroll saw. I'm gonna clean this up and see how it goes. I've ordered another bit so that hopefully I can make these a little bit better. And I think in the future, maybe I'll make them a little bit larger so that the definition is easier with the same router bit, or looks even cleaner with a smaller router bit. I think that would be better. All right, so I got a new bit in the mail. Let's see how things go. So that new bit, boy, is that a bit. That thing is powerful and scared the shit out of me because I didn't realize it was cutting the other direction. But I think the product is pretty darn good. There are still imperfections along the side that ideally I would like to iron out. These are days that make me want to have a CNC, but also at the same time, where's the fun in a CNC? I suppose the fun is productivity and you know, high dollars per hour rate, but sort of lose the joy of cutting the thing yourself. And that's what I love about woodworking. The definition lost here by having a 1/4 inch bit instead of really getting into these corners reminds me of some of the older styles of Mickey Mouse. In particular, those balloons, the old style balloons. Those are a little bit differently shaped than this, but this has a nostalgic feel to me as a Disney child of the 90s. I like it. I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm gonna see if I can clear up some of the imperfections along the side, but I am thinking that this is going to have a rustic flair to it in the end, especially with this big old knot in the center. But for any others I make, I think I'm going to keep that rustic flair. I may make them into bottle openers. I have the hardware for those sitting in a drawer over here for the last 6 years. Let's clean this up and then maybe cut a few more. I've decided to get some wood filler to fix the imperfections so when I continue to make more blanks from this template that they don't replicate the imperfections along the edge. Okay, so I let it cure overnight, which is definitely longer than it needed to cure. So we're gonna start again today by making sure we get some nice, smooth, and rounded ears and face. All right, so I have a couple Mickey Mouses, Mickey Mice, Mickeys to start putting through the finishing process. These I'm gonna be marketing as rustic, so we need to make them look a little bit more rustic. So I'm gonna hit these things with a hammer and make them look dented, because that'll earn you more money. I'm gonna try out the framing hammer. It's got this sort of hatchet, or hat, I don't know what you call that. I'm gonna try out my birch whip hammer. Next we're gonna take an awl. I've got this beautiful Minwax espresso that we're going to use to get a nice, dark, smooth, aromatic finish. Okay, so I saw this great trick for drying stuff after you've stained it or spray painted it or shellacked it. And check this out. Now, I don't have a brad gun. This would have been a lot faster with a brad gun, but still worth making. Basically a million nails. And after I'm able to stain all sides of these Mickeys, I could just place these on top for them to dry. And I don't know why I didn't choose to wear gloves. I have them, they're somewhere. Don't be too hasty and then you have to spend 15 minutes washing your hands of espresso, beautiful espresso and vaguely Italian stain. So these have been sitting out in the sun for like an hour and they look pretty good. Kind of hard to see the texture there. But to be honest, I was a little nervous when I put the texture in earlier. I regretted it a little bit. Now that the stain is on, I think it worked. I'm also not so concerned about imperfections in the shape. Now that I've leaned into the rustic feel, that is really what prevails. I'm just wiping off a little bit of excess. Probably should have wiped off this excess earlier, but instead I ran to Ace Hardware to try and see if they have plexiglass, which mine does not. So I'm going to leave these to dry completely overnight.
The next day.
Now I'm going to put in the middle of this Mickey Mouse a nice bottle opener. And then this will be a wall-mounted Mickey. There you have it. Rustic, down-home Mickey bottle opener. There's just one more step left to this, and that is to put slots in the back for hanging it on the wall. With bottle openers, you want to make sure it is well secured. So either you're going to do a couple of strong magnets to make sure it doesn't flop off the fridge, or you want 2 holes in it. And we're going to use a keyhole router bit. The challenge with this is not just some square piece that I could easily run over the router. And I worry that if I just try to freehand it down onto the keyhole bit, that it could jerk around and move. So I have an idea. I think I'm gonna try one of the offcuts that would fit around this and have a square edge that I could then run along the fence of my router. It's not exact because the difference is the width of the router bit, but it could still sit in here snugly enough. I think this will be good enough. Now when you're hanging something on the wall and you're using a keyhole jig, you're gonna have a wider section followed by a narrower section here. You want to make sure the wider section's at the bottom. That's where your screw or your nail goes in, and then it slides up in here and it can't come out because this hole is narrower than the head of the screw or the nail. And we're going to want 2 of these. Well, due to spatial constraints, the outline that I had is not going to work. I'm going to try freehanding it and see what happens. You know what? I think I should have done a test run on another piece of wood first. We're going to do that now. Well, my father is probably laughing at me somewhere. I missed the obvious answer. His motto was, keep it simple, stupid. I'm very stupid right now. I could just be using the hand router. I could be looking at the back while I'm doing it. So I fixed up the initial hole a little bit. It's still doesn't look fantastic. I'll make a second one in the back and show you how that goes. There you go. This is the only spot I felt like I could hang it in my shop. Everywhere else is in use, or I didn't want to put holes in it. So, enjoy this awkward shot. I don't know that I even have any beers in this house or anything with a... I guess I should go look. Here we go. Something respectable. Prost. Gosh, I can't tell you the last time I had a beer. It's probably last summer.
On the epilogue.
My surprise for this video was that through the whole thing, I made a few of these to go right on top. Final step for the Minnie Mouse, we're going to glue on her bow. Little CA glue will do the trick. Adhesive first. Now I like CA glue, but the thing that makes me nervous about it is you have about 2 seconds for adjustments, and that is it. That's pretty darn cute.